Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Our next speaker, Adrian, is a recognized authority in both global and resource investing. He's a frequent speaker at the conferences around the world. He has authored 2 books on the subject of global investing, international investment opportunities, and how and where to invest overseas successfully, and another one, investing without borders. He's going to talk about the things that annoy him as a libertarian. Please join me to welcome Mr. Adrian Day to the podium.
Well, thank you very much, Rajni, and thank you, Jane, for inviting me. You know, asking me to talk about things that annoy me is a bit like asking, asking Doug to talk about things that annoy him about government. The problem is there's an awful lot of material here. So I'm just going to run through a few things, and it'll surprise you, or maybe annoy or upset some of you, but not everything that I'm going to talk about is the fault of government. But most of them are at root. It all comes back to government in the end. Many of the themes recur across different examples, and I guess there's several broad themes. One is, as I say, government doing stupid things, and the second one, frankly, is that I won't say most, but an awful lot of people are, let's say, unthinking. So I think the first sort of thing that annoys me, I put it under the heading of unintended consequences. And that is things that are intended to make life simpler or safer, but actually have the opposite effect. There's a German word, I'm told, I don't know German, but I'm told there's a German word for this. It's one of those wonderful compound words that you only find in German. Verschimmbesserung. Does that mean anything to the Germans in the audience? Thank you. So it does exist. Okay, so things that are meant to improve life but actually have the opposite effect. And I'll give a few examples. Maybe I'll give the examples first, and then I'll tell you why it annoys me as a libertarian. And actually the title was a Curmudgeonly Libertarian. First one, I guess, would be car safety features. It's interesting that over the last multiple years, when several new car safety features have been introduced, fatalities have gone up. And I think there's a couple of reasons for this. One is that car safety features give you a fake sense of security. You have a airbag in the front seat, and you think, well, it'll be okay if I crash. A great example of the negative effects of safety features is this idea of putting your children in car seats in the back seat. Has anyone ever been driving along and looked at the soccer mom next to her turning around talking to the kids? I mean, and what annoys me about it is it's so friggin' obvious. You don't have to be a genius to think what's going to happen if you tell mom she has to put her kids in the back seat. There's another thing that happens, and it happens also with airplanes, I think, automated features on airplanes. But particularly with cars, we lose the experience that comes from multiple small incidents or small misses. We lose that experience, so we're unable to deal with a really major interruption, like the automatic driving in Tesla suddenly stops or something, because we haven't been used to dealing with small examples. In the EU, European Union, cars have to be fitted with speed limiting technology from 2020. Now, it doesn't have to be turned on yet, but you know full well that when the government says every car manufactured has to have speed limiting technology, and this is technology that links with GPS and links with certain road signs and traffic lights and will just automatically not allow you to go over a certain speed. You know that once they introduce the technology into cars, mandate the technology into cars, it'll only be a matter of time before they mandate that it's turned on. Now, I will guarantee you that that's going to cause an increase in crashes for several reasons. One reason, apart from the fact that I like to drive fast when it's safe, one reason is that sometimes you should be driving a little bit faster. If the speed limit is 70 and everyone's going at 69 and you want to pass someone, you have to go above 70 to pass them safely. If you pass them at 70, you're chugging along in the fast lane, the odds are someone's going to hit you. And there's many examples of that I could give. It's often necessary to speed up, to miss someone, to get into another lane and avoid the car but suddenly put their brakes on or something. What will happen with speed limiting technology, apart from those examples I just gave, is that people will lose that sort of instinctive judgment of how fast they should be going, and because the government's just going to tell them how fast they should be going. But guaranteed crashes will go up. Another sort of example I'll give you is that of road signs. A lot of, I don't know if it's true of Germans, but it's certainly true of a lot of English people, but when they first come to America and drive on American roads, they are staggered at how many signs there are. There are signs everywhere: slow down, speed up, turn right, no left turn, road sign ahead, traffic light ahead, stop for pedestrians in the road. Really? I'm supposed to stop if there's a person in my way? And there's signs everywhere. Now, this is meant to make things safer by telling you what you're supposed to do. But in fact, it has the opposite effect. In the United States, there are far more, a multiple of small accidents, and it's caused by distracted driving, I think. We talk about distracted driving, but I think one of the most distracting things is the proliferation of road signs along the road. People slow down to look at them, those things, you know what I'm talking about. And so in England, I'm not saying we don't have big crashes, we do, but we don't have a lot of small crashes. You don't go down a road and see cars on the side of a road pulled over because they had a fender bender. Another thing, I'm sure a lot of you will know about this, about the experiment in the town of, excuse my pronunciation, Drachten. It's in Holland. Does anybody know about that? They removed all of the road signs. Not only that, this is great anarchistic system. Not only that, they removed the demarcation between the sidewalks and the roads. Oh my gosh. Fatalities must have shot through the roof, right? This is crazy. No, people instinctively learned to give way to other drivers. If you come to a four-way stop, people automatically stopped and let the other person go. People were not driving on the sidewalk, running down the passengers. The accident rate went down. Maybe counterintuitive a little bit, but I think the other thing that really annoys me, the thing that annoys me about this, is that all of these improved things meant to make life simpler or safer or healthier come about from a nanny state attitude. It's some bureaucrat wagging his finger at us telling me how we should behave, and it often goes backwards. Another perfect example is alcohol. In America, there's all this stuff about children shouldn't drink. When my daughter was about 14, I actually got a letter home from the school saying, we know this is Super Bowl Sunday, and we know a lot of you like to watch the game and have a drink beer while you're watching the game. We plead with you not to drink beer if your children are in the house. Well, you can imagine what I said to the headmaster. But the problem with all of this, my daughter started drinking wine when she was 6 or 7. When I say drinking wine, at 6 it was wine diluted with water and it was a small glass. But she started drinking wine with us at dinner. She's never had an alcohol incident or a problem in her life. American kids have never had a glass of alcohol till they go to college, and then the college tells them, oh, you're only 18 or 19, sorry, you're not allowed to drink. What do? They sneak off and they drink too much. It's an obvious result of restricting something for far too long, in my view. Another thing that annoys me, tell me when I'm running a 10. Another thing that annoys me, there's a lot of things that annoy me. You can see, once I get warmed up, I really start getting annoyed, right? And that is nothing to do with government, actually. Form over function. Now, I love beautiful things as much as anyone. But there's absolutely no point in having a beautiful gadget that doesn't work. I'll give it just a couple of examples, if I may, of what I mean by this. Some of you may disagree with this, but every time I rent a car, first of all, they all start differently, they all lock differently. I mean, I'm a bit of a dinosaur, but, you know, I've got to really think about how I open a door and start the thing. Never used to do that 10 years ago. Every car opened the same way, every car started the same way. Gears are all weird, you know? On my Maserati, you push forward to go backwards. It's just counterintuitive, and why do they do it that way? If it was a mechanistic thing, there had to be a way of reversing that so that it was the same as, you know, intuition, because it messed me up several times when I first started driving. But every time I rent a car, the, what do you call that thing, the console with the heat and, you know, the tapes and, well, they don't have tapes anymore, you know what I mean, the radio, you can, giving myself away here, the radio and the air conditioning and all those features, right, are all on a flat screen. So when you're driving along I-70 in Denver, going up to Beaver Creek, and you're tootling along at 70 miles an hour and you want to change a radio station, you're poking around, you just can't do it. You have to look. There is no way to turn the heat off and the air on or whatever without looking. There's no way. In my day, when I was young, no, cars used to have knobs and buttons, so you have a tactile feeling of where you are. You can drive along without taking your eyes off that road, and you can change channels, and you can turn the CD deck off and turn the radio on because there's buttons and knobs. You can feel them. And that to me just seems, you know, it makes it look nicer, but it's more difficult to use. I checked into a rather fancy hotel in Miami, in South Beach. I hate South Beach. But I checked into this hotel in South Beach. Very, very nice hotel. I forgot what it was called now, but anyway, very nice hotel. And the gentleman, the guy who took my luggage to the room, he said, oh, if you want to turn the lights off, I'll show you where the switch is. Well, the switch, no, I kid you not. The switch was behind the couch. And I said, isn't that a rather peculiar place to put the switch? He said, oh, we didn't want to ruin the smooth look of the wall. Well, it gets worse. At night, you know, I'd already brushed my teeth and changed. Well, never mind. But I was already ready for bed. I was sitting on the bed. I thought I'll watch television. Where's the thing? Go and look. Turn knobs. Look behind the TV. How do I turn this on? I actually called down because I was so annoyed. Normally I'd just go to sleep, but I'd spent 20 minutes looking for this thing. I said, I'm going to call down. Excuse me. I don't mean to sound stupid, but how do I turn the television on? Oh, sir, you're not stupid. All our guests are sat. Oh, I mentioned earlier about driving and safety features, the false sense of security. And that goes to a lot of areas in life. My area, I'm a money manager, and it certainly is in my area. You know, those big, thick prospectuses that you get when you invest in a mutual fund. Has anybody here invested in a mutual fund? Has anybody got a prospectus in the mail? Has anybody ever read one? One person? Two? 1.5? I wasn't sure. Okay. I mean, the point is, most people look at that big, thick document. It's got an SEC stamp on the top, although it says not approved by the SEC, but it's been vetted by the SEC. We just all assume it's got to be okay, or the SEC wouldn't have passed it. It wouldn't be allowed, right? And it's got a big, thick document. I think these things have negative implications, negative consequences. Now, a lot of this is lawyers trying to protect the company, but a lot of it is stuff that has to be in there, mandated by the SEC. And what really frustrates me is the SEC will be over here saying, oh, this is so awful, all these prospectuses. We want plain English documents that people can understand. And then over here, they're issuing 20 and 30 rules every month of new stuff that has to be included in your prospectus. And you just plain can't have it both ways. I received a proxy document. This is different. A company was taking over another company. I received a proxy document, 987 pages. I actually wished I'd put another 13 in so I could say it was 1,000. 987 pages. And of course, the voting was 10 days ahead. Nobody read that. Nobody. The only people that read that document are the lawyers who read it after the company sued to say, well, you didn't see the footnote 4 on page 236, obviously, because it's there, we said it. So, as anybody, you know, Doug and Rick and other people know, I'm extremely anti, I hate the SEC, and I'm anti-compliance and regulation. And of course, we're all libertarians, so we know that doesn't mean I'm against ethics or morality. I'm just against the government telling us how we should conduct our business, particularly when so many of those regulations, there's too many of them, but also so many of them are completely illogical, and worse, some of them are just plain idiotic. And I know I've told one or two people, but I just can't help giving you this wonderful example. A friend of mine, Frank Holmes, some of you will know him, he runs a group of funds, US Global. He has a gold fund. And he has a presentation where he talks about how people love gold. And throughout the ages, they've loved gold. He has pictures of the pyramids and gold chalices and Indian, ladies with their arms with bracelets. And he has a picture of Elvis Presley in his gold lame suit to show that gold has allure, natural allure. Are you ready for this? An SEC examiner, it's illegal in the industry to have a client endorse your fund or managed account. So I can't have a client say, you know what, I think Adrian's a good manager, I think you should invest with him. That's illegal. For some reason, it doesn't make sense to me, but anyway, that's a different issue. SEC examiner told him that he had to put a disclaimer at the bottom of that slide of Elvis Presley saying, disclaimer, Mr. Presley is not a client of US Global and does not endorse US Global funds. I mean, how many more minutes have I got? Because I've got lots of stuff here. Let's see. Let's jump to this one, because I don't want to miss out on this one for a reason that will be obvious to you, Chi. So another thing that annoys me, but actually doesn't have much to do with government either, is the lack of precision in the use of language. Now, I understand that language changes. I understand that the meaning of words change over time. New words come in. new phraseology, I understand that. But words do have meaning. And when we don't use words properly, we lose something important. So it's the lack of precision in using language that really annoys me. And I know Doug feels the same way. He caught me out last night. Thank you, Doug. But this is particularly true, I think, of pairs. Disinterested and uninterested. So many people just don't even know the difference. And so people just use the words interchangeably. Well, we lose something very important when we don't have a distinction between disinterested and uninterested. Similarly, another one that really gets to me is literally and figuratively. Am I nearly out of time? Oh my gosh, I've got 900 more examples. Literally and figuratively. I mean, I'm sure you hear people all the time saying, oh, well, people write in newsletters, the stock market literally blew up today. Well, no, it didn't. Maybe the stock exchange building blew up because there was a bomb. Anyway, people are using literally all the time when what they really mean is figuratively. And this is why I jumped to this giant. You told me you didn't want to hear about the Irish potato famine. Well, I'll tell you about the Irish potato famine. In New York schools now, it is mandated in the history textbooks that the New York potato famine is taught as an example of genocide. Genocide, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, the only one worth reading, is the systematic and deliberate extermination of a national, racial, political, or cultural group. Deliberate and systematic extermination. Now, you can say, and I would argue with you, you can say what you want about the English attitude in the Irish potato famine. You can say we didn't care and we didn't do enough, or they didn't care and didn't do enough. This wasn't me. But it was not, and nobody seriously thinks it was a deliberate and systematic extermination of Irish people, yet it is taught as genocide. The problem with something like that, apart from annoying English people, is that we lose the value of words. If we're using genocide for a very sad famine in Ireland, what do we use for genocide? You know, inflation, I had another one on inflation, but I've obviously run out of time. You know, when we continually inflate things, diminish the value of whether it's words. It applies to cussing. You know, if every third word you use is a swear word, it doesn't really have much impact anymore, and it only really begins to bug people. Anyway, so there's a lot that annoys me. And, you know, I can stand on the street corner and carry on if you want. Thank you.